time where I reside. A little bit later in the day for my illustrious guest, and we'll get to introducing. However, the housekeeping is in session. This is Bottom Line, episode 73, the 36th MMA/combat sports rendition. Finally got over the number to where more than half of my podcasts are about fighting. Isn't that something else? MMA number 36, episode 73. And we are joined by not only a very good friend of the program, a colleague of mine on the Loudmouth MMA podcast network, but most importantly, above anything else, a very good friend of mine, even if he's letting the dew get out of control, man. What's going on with the hair? Mr. Marcel Dorff is in the building. What's going on, my friend?
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Oh, good. Yeah, my hair. The thing is, at the barbers over here, they want you to wear a face mask, and I'm really against it because it's not, we don't have to do it here. And the barbers pretty much want it. So it's like, F off, you know. I just let the fro grow a little bit. So yeah, all good. Maybe I can make a ponytail out of in 2 months or something. I don't know. We'll see.
It's looking like it's getting in that range, brother. Like it's looking like here soon you're going to be on the opposite tail end of me, where I was in March whenever I had to kind of face the pain. You guys had a lot of fun with that, didn't you?
Oh man, I loved it. I even stayed awake to watch that. So you know.
Hey man, I'm just glad I was a good sport about it. I'm glad there wasn't any kind of like documentation or like hard evidence that I was just a dickhead about it. You know, like at least I took my lumps, right?
I even showed it to my parents. So then,
Great. But that's wonderful. Well, we have an action-packed program for you today, no pun intended. We are getting ready to dive into some news. I know the UFC rankings just came out earlier today. We're going to talk a little bit about those and whatever discretions we may have towards them. The main event this weekend was rather predictable. There were comments that were made by UFC President Dana White that we'll touch on as well. However, we take a look starting off, and obviously, of course, we will get into breaking down this weekend's main event towards the end between Poirier and Kattar. Obviously, the biggest shift coming at 145, but heavyweight was where the men on the marquee stood. No changes.
Yeah, they haven't updated on the website yet, man. They haven't updated on the website itself yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you have to go to Twitter, Jedi Goodman. He has the new rankings.
He has the new rankings?
Yeah.
Well, the thing that we kind of quarreled with early, and we'll hop into it, obviously touch on the main event as well, but the co-main event, which was dynamic, it was electric, it was fantastic, explosive, all the adjectives you want to throw into it. Josh Emmett and Shane Burgos really threw down this weekend and provided, in my opinion, what's probably either runner-up or in the number 3 slot for fight of the year. Joanna and Weili probably have that throne for now, in my humble opinion. But you know, before we get into the rankings aspect of things, I'll ask you, where do you kind of put that fight just off the top of your head against some of the other barn burners we've seen this year? I think it's right up there.
Yeah, it's probably around second place, man. I mean, Joanna against Zhang was for the title, was crazy for 5 rounds. You can't beat that, honestly, you know. And maybe you have also Felder versus Hooker. That might be second.
Yeah,
maybe this one is third, because that was a 5-rounder as well, you know.
100%. I was thinking Felder and Hooker, and I was going to say too, you know, the 5-round aspect is important, and in between those two fights is probably where I'd have Felder and Hooker. I thought Felder and Hooker was tremendous, didn't get enough credit. Yeah. But you know, at the quarrel we have with these 145-pound rankings, or at least what we talked about briefly off the air before beginning, has to do with how harshly the rankings panel kind of came down on Shane Burgos, who, you know, you could make an argument he won the first 2 rounds. I know not everyone will make that argument, and I'm not going to make it either. I'm just saying there is a case to be had. And Josh Emmett, obviously punctuating the fight tremendously with the 2 knockdowns in the 3rd round, it kind of set himself apart, and I think did enough to get himself a win. But to drop the guy right on the edge of the rankings, I know it's a collective thing, and I know it's like 15 people, and there's a whole process that goes into it. But you've kind of made it well known on social media today about some of your feelings about the rankings. Kind of just give me a light on where you're coming from, at least from Burgos being dropped 4 spots and it being a little bit unwarranted.
I think, man, I mean, if you have a fight which is people might say it's not close. It was close, in my opinion. 1 and 2 was close. Burgos arguably won the first two rounds. I don't say for sure. Third round, I scored that one 10-8 for Emmett because I think you have to award a fighter for 2 knockdowns. And Burgos was never out of that third round, man. But he got 2 knockdowns, and you should award Emmett for that. So I gave him 10-8 in that round. Yeah. So you can make an argument it was a draw. You can make an argument Emmett won the fight, which he did. So to drop somebody 4 spots, it was even a fight of the night. It was a crazy fight. I think everybody enjoyed that one. That was on paper, it was a great fight, and it was in real life was a great fight. So, I mean, to drop Burgos 4 spots doesn't make sense. Also to Emmett that he remained the spot where he was also doesn't make sense to me. Why is Edgar still above him? I mean,
right.
Edgar is out of the rankings. Jose Aldo is to bantamweight. Put him out of the rankings, you know. But also then there is a note from Eric will actually put that out. Credits to him. He's one of the rankers. And there's a third party who is in beside the UFC and the rankers, and they provide notes to fighters or to rankers how to properly rank. And there, that note is probably, I don't know if you have that note, you can show it.
Yeah, I'm getting ready to.
Yeah, that note says, like, if Emmett lost, you can drop him out of the rankings. The dude is 8. What the fuck? If Burgos loses, you can drop him out of the rankings. Number 10. And on both sides, they say you can put Bryce Mitchell in. And I'm like, Bryce Mitchell is great. He's a big talent. He will come far in the UFC, definitely. But to put him in over Burgos or Emmett if they both lose, that doesn't make sense to me. Bryce Mitchell's biggest win is again a dominant unanimous decision win over Charles Rosa, a guy who Shane Burgos TKO'd in the 3rd round 2-3 years ago. So, you know, I don't know what to think about it. People say I might be biased because I'm always pretty big.
Where's your bias coming from here, though?
Nowhere. I think I have good arguments to. I have good arguments to back my opinion on this one. So,
right,
you know. But people might think that. But hey, you might think whatever you want. I'm just saying what I think, and I think it shows many people agree with me on Twitter. You know, so
yeah, dude. But you know, people could be coming at the angle that, hey, man, this guy's just in it to see the winner come out for his picks on the breakdown show with Mr. Max Friedman every week. Right. We have a tweet here from another good friend of the program, Mr. Eric Kowal, fantastic spearheader over at mymmanews.com. This was at Marcel earlier today. This is the tweet that he referenced. And obviously, since it's sent out on Twitter, it's kind of free game. He said, and quote, they send notes. This is regarding the UFC fighter rankings and kind of the briefings that they are given on them every single week. They send notes to basically tell us if a fighter wins or loses, here is how you should vote. Take that how you will. But this week's note was, please note that we had a panelist retire from the program this week, which accounts for some of the movement unrelated to fights. Now, I don't know what that means necessarily in regards to this weekend's rankings, particularly, and comparing them to other rankings and other shifts in the past. That was one tweet. And then here is a picture of the actual rankings brief. Okay. So right here is the actual picture of the brief. You can see, and again, big props because this was posted on Twitter by Mr. Eric Kowal himself. Good friend of the program, good friend of Marcel's as well. You see here that they are giving him a low upside, and what that basically means is a low level of trajectory should Josh Emmett win, rather than, obviously, on the contrast, a high downturn if he loses. Same thing over here for Shane Burgos, except, you know, a little bit of a contrast there with the medium upside should he win. And obviously a description, recent losses, recent fighters, results against ranked fighters, so on and so forth. However, Marcel and I both kind of said off of the air a little bit that there can be fundamental flaws that come with that. But we're not the ones that make the system, and I know Eric isn't either. Your thoughts?
Yeah, true. But the funny thing also is those notes aren't even good, because that said that Shane only fought one ranked opponent. He fought Cub Swanson when Cub Swanson was ranked, and that's not even on the note because Cub Swanson isn't ranked anymore. You know,
Right.
so they should put that on the note as well. I mean, why would you think he came in the rankings? Because he beat a ranked opponent at that moment, you know? And I think you definitely should first fight a ranked opponent before you get into the rankings. But it seems like the UFC is like, and the UFC says we have nothing to do with it. Complete bullshit, man. I call you out on this, man. I mean, not you, but the UFC to say we have no involvement. Complete bullshit. You definitely have involvement in this. For example, Gilbert Burns yesterday, he posted on Twitter, why is Conor still in the rankings? He's retired, right? They didn't know how quick they had to put Henry Cejudo out of the rankings. Conor is still in it, you know, and I don't have anything against Conor or anything, but I'm just speaking facts here, you know. Yeah, I don't know what's up, but yeah, what you want me to say? I respect Eric, by the way. Huge props to him.
I respect the hell out of him for putting that out in public.
Definitely, 100%. Actually, he opened many people's eyes, I think, in this. And people saying rankings don't matter. I wish they didn't matter, but they do matter.
And, you know, in all of your time that you spent literally day in and day out covering this sport, and as I said earlier, the sport we love, whether that's, you know, at our own fault or not, with all the time that you spend covering this sport, did you ever know that that was like any type of thing, like these fighter ranking debriefs and upside and downside projections that come out weekly when these ranked matchups happen? Have you ever heard of anything like that?
Nah, it also doesn't make sense to me, man. I think if you're a panelist in the rankings, you should watch fights and you should form an own opinion, you know, and be real, be honest, you know. This is, for me, that seems like to be for people who don't watch fights too often. They get a brief or they get a note, and they see like they watch or they see the result. Josh Emmett defeats Shane Burgos by a unanimous decision. I see 110-8. Well, he should get. He probably got dominated in that one round. I don't know. Let's put him a little bit down in the rankings. That's how I see it, you know. If you saw that fight, you can't put him four spots down. That's simple. And also, Emmett should move at least one spot above Frankie Edgar.
I agree. You know, you remember too, a couple of years ago when I had you on, you and I were having a solid laugh about how they left Patty Houlihan in, or at least a couple of panelists left Patty Houlihan in the rankings a little like too long. And when I say a little too long, I'm talking like months and months after the man retired. Come on, man. We got to stay on top of it. And stay on top of it we will as we go on to just talk a little bit about this main event on Saturday. I know that Dana White had his own comments to say about Curtis Blaydes and his performance. He said he kind of looked stupid, and I don't know what that was stemming from, whether it was from, you know, the tweets about ragdolling Volkov or whatever may have you. I think Blaydes knows, obviously, no matter what he says, that he's going to be behind Ngannou in kind of the title tilt, and rightfully so, with Ngannou not only having two wins by stoppage, both over the head of Curtis Blaydes, but being the only two professional losses of Curtis Blaydes' tenure, period. It's going to be tough for Curtis to obviously jump the line. Whether he wants to sit and wait around at this point is going to be up to him. I find that highly problematic if he wants a shot at gold. What do you say? You think we're going to see Curtis Blaydes fight again before he gets a shot at the title? I think there's no way around it.
I have no idea, man, but I think the UFC made it themselves pretty difficult in this one again. I mean, the UFC absolutely wanted DC to get a title shot again against Stipe Miocic. You know, they wanted to, and I know there are many DC fans, but in my opinion, and I respect DC said after this one, I'm probably going to retire. So you're going to give a guy a title shot knowing he's going to retire. So what if he wins? What are you going to do? What you going to do? You're going to do Miocic against Blaydes? You're going to do Blaydes against Ngannou 3? What you going to do? It just doesn't make sense to me, you know?
Yeah.
And that's the thing. I know many people will be upset now that I say that, because I know many people love DC, but it just doesn't make sense to me, you know. Whatever, you know. I don't know what they're going to do. I think Dana said Blaydes looks stupid. Blaydes fought how he always wants to fight. He takes you down. He tries to beat you up, but Blaydes gassed in the fourth, fifth round. You know, don't see that too often from him, that he's gassing. But he did made it to the fourth round once, I think, and then finished the fight. I don't remember correctly anymore, but I mean, we know what Blaydes do. Why is Dana so upset about it, man? You know, we all know what he does. We know his game plan. He even said it on Twitter, man. If you expect a kickboxing or Muay Thai fight, don't watch on Saturday, because I'm going to ragdoll him and keep him on the ground. We know what Blaydes does. I don't think you can really you can be upset about it, man. It's like telling a kickboxer that, or a guy who kickboxes for 5 rounds, that he looks stupid, you know, because he should also implement some wrestling in his game. Doesn't make sense. He got the job done. He got the win. That's all that counts for him.
Curtis Blaydes at this point, after having broken the all-time heavyweight takedown record 3 fights ago against Justin Willis, is now at a comfortable, at least according to my math, I might be a couple off, 59 successfully converted takedowns in UFC competition, clearly and far and away the heavyweight record. And you'd have to imagine that is going to be completely shattered into a million pieces by the time he's done, and literally parlays right into exactly what you were saying. You know how he's going to fight. You know exactly what to expect when Curtis Blaydes is staring at you opposite the octagon. Even if in his last fight, I thought he displayed his best performance on the feet, especially counter-striking wise, talking about his fight against Junior Dos Santos.
He even had Volkov hard a few times, man. Some solid shots.
Right. No, 100%, 100%. And, you know, a lot of these performances from Curtis Blaydes, when you look down the line, are kind of camouflaged in between each other. The Volkov performance looked kind of apropos to the Abdurrahimov performance and the Willis performance and the Hunt performance. It all looks kind of the same, but like you said, that's exactly how he gets the job done. That's exactly how he wins his fights, and he's tremendous at doing so.
100%, man. I mean, what do they expect? They are not all the Diaz brothers who are great on the ground and they keep standing. I mean, you know, the Diaz brothers normally only go to the ground if they get taken down. Yeah, he did that different against Anthony Pettis and Diaz, but that's normally what they're doing. But you can't blame Curtis Blaydes for wrestling in a fight. That is his strongest point in an MMA fight. So why shouldn't he use it? So
you can't blame a man with as much pressure that he has on him and with as much on the line, because let's be totally and completely frank, there was a lot more to lose in this matchup for Curtis Blaydes than there was for Alexander Volkov. I think that's obvious. Yeah. But I think you can't fault a man for going in and achieving the path of least resistance, in order to get his hand raised. And that's exactly what Curtis Blaydes did, in my opinion. And I agree with you. I don't think he should be faulted. Where he goes from here, as far as the heavyweight trajectory, is going to be a little bit tricky, just because obviously you have the man, Francis Ngannou, sitting right in front of him. We talked a little bit about Emmett and Burgos. I guess, you know, maybe what we can do to kind of expand on it here is maybe play a little matchmaker, maybe off the top of the head. People calling for Emmett, at least on Twitter, from my vantage point, to kind of right that wrong that he had against Jeremy Stephens. He's been on a tear since he fought Jeremy. I know I interviewed him right after the Jeremy Stephens loss, and it was kind of a touchy conversation given what had happened. And man, he's looked tremendous since. What do you see making sense for him? At least he says he wants a top 3 guy. He has all those injuries. Obviously, it's going to be a little bit of time till he comes back. If they make T-City and Korean Zombie, I don't care if he gets the winner or loser of that. I'd be down to see him fight either of those guys. What do you say?
Yeah, man, pretty much what is above him, man. He can also or fight the winner or loser from Sabit against Jair if they fight, you know?
Totally. Yeah.
Even if Calvin Kattar against Dan Ige, the winner of that one, you know, he can fight that guy. But the thing is, like you said, he's out long with an injury, so we don't know how the rankings will look in like 9 or 10 months. You know, can be totally different again. So I don't know, man, and we will see what happens. You know, and I definitely think he should fight a guy who is above him, because he deserves it, man. I think he definitely deserves it.
And as far as Burgos is concerned, you know, coming into this weekend, and maybe you could even say coming out of the first round, he's looked damn near flawless in his UFC tenure outside of the third round against Cater. You could argue who won the first two, but obviously he got clipped in the third with that uppercut. But has looked damn near seamless in all other rounds of competition outside of those second and third, where I thought he could have really taken over the fight in the second round after beating up his lead leg and obviously Emmett being compromised with that ACL in the first round. Burgos, obviously, while standing in and fighting tough, failed to do so as far as getting his hand raised at the end of the day. I think that while the rankings, obviously, as you said earlier, I think it's a little bit naive to believe the UFC doesn't have something to do with them. But come on, you can't give Burgos like an up-and-coming guy that's like looking to crack into the top 15, right? Like, at least I wouldn't.
Me neither, man. But hey, if they are so high on Bryce Mitchell, make Bryce Mitchell if you want to do that, you know.
Are you high on Bryce Mitchell?
I like him, man. I really like him. I think he's very solid on the ground, what I saw so far. And I liked him in the Ultimate Fighter as well. I was actually kind of surprised he lost to Brad Katona via submission. I didn't saw that one coming. Yeah, and he's improving every fight, you know, so it would be a fun one. But I also like to see Shane Burgos fighting Hakeem Dawoudou, you know. I mean, Dawoudou fought Julio Arce to a split decision. Julio is James' teammate. Yeah. So it's Shane's teammate. So, I mean, that would be a good fight as well. Even if Dan Ige doesn't win against Calvin Kattar, I like that fight as well. So, yeah.
Let me just say on the record. Let me just say on the record, too, I like any fight in that division between any of the guys named above involving Ryan Hall as well. Let's get that guy a fight. Let's get that guy in the octagon.
I honestly talked to a few featherweights, and they assured me they never got a fight offered against Ryan Hall.
That's all of it. That's what they're always going to say. You never, that's the thing though. You never know. You never know. Like even if you develop like solid rapport with a fighter or their camp and like, there's a level of trust. I feel like that's one of those things on whatever side. You just really never know. We don't know how many times Kamaru was offered Colby like before they fought for the title. You know what I'm saying? We don't really know.
Nah, true. It's just guessing.
But we got a couple of comments. We got Oliver in here. Mitchell wants Feely. Feed Hall to Yusuf. Feed Hall to Yusuf? That's a little bit of that's a little bit of a suggestive term, I'd say. That's an interesting fight though. I like Hall and Yusuf.
Me too.
Regardless, we roll on the lone fight at women's bantamweight on this card. Raquel Pennington and Marion Renault. When you look at the stats kind of after the fact, it looks incredibly widespread. Even if the fight didn't look to be so much when it was playing out in front of us, it was kind of a much-win scenario for both of these girls, especially with how women's bantamweight is shaking out. We have another comment in here, though, too. Hall versus Mitchell is no-brainer. We just want to keep going on the featherweight division. I think, and I don't blame anybody. I love the featherweight division. 145 is fun. I like Hall versus Mitchell. I think Hall versus Mitchell is a fun fight. Regardless, though, give me your takeaway between Pennington and Renault. I think, at this point, given that the division is so thin and isn't very, widely populated, I think that there's not a whole lot of paths to go creatively for either of these girls. I honestly think also, I don't know if Marion Renault, officially retired, but she seemed to be giving hints of it on Twitter. Or at least was posting language of someone that looked to be contemplating it, but I have no knowledge of that. Regardless, what were your kind of takeaways from here?
Yeah, I gotta stay respectful, right? So, man, that fight, it pretty much went how I expected it. Pennington winning a decision. If I have to be completely honest, I had that fight on the screen. And I had the TV on mute, and I pretty much was also playing a game on my mobile phone because it was pretty much how I expected it to go.
Me too.
I was really waiting for the co-main event and the main event at that moment.
Me too.
So yeah, no disrespect to the girls, man, but that was a fight that but like Max said last week, man, Pennington mostly shines in the fights where she is the better better opponent or the better fighter in a fight, you know. But she struggles when she's not the more technical fighter in that fight. So I think that's pretty much what we expected. But I don't see Pennington making a run again for a title. I don't think so, at least. So yeah,
right. No, right. Especially with obviously the Lioness herself sitting atop the throne, you find it almost impossible to see anybody coming up at 135 that can give her kind of her fair shake, at least at this point. Renault to me looks like, or at least like I said, at least on Twitter, she kind of gave a soliloquy in a sense that looked like someone that could be getting ready to retire. I'm not sure. I have no knowledge of that, but regardless. Moving on, 170 pounds. This was a fun fight. I thought this could have been fight of the night potentially if Dana was feeling generous before Emmett and Burgos kind of came in and took that shine away. Belal Muhammad, I said going into the fight, it would either be kind of like a grinded out, gritty decision win for Belal Muhammad or a spectacular flash KO from Lyman Good. And we got the former of the two, Belal Muhammad, en route to a unanimous decision victory. A pretty big win for him against a talented fighter in Lyman Good.
I definitely agree, man. I think the first 2 rounds he did very well, Belal, and there he actually he won on all scorecards the first 2 rounds. So there he took it, and Lyman almost finished him in the 3rd round, but Belal had a good chin and he held on. He made it through. I think he even implemented a takedown at the last moment.
Yep.
So it was a fun fight, and also, man, with all those things going on with these guys, man. I mean, Belal just done with the Ramadan, right? His father's shot was looted in where he lived, very, very bad. And Lyman Good, man, his father passed away like a few weeks ago. Both guys had a pretty rough preparation. Also, Lyman had COVID-19. He was positive for that. So both guys had a pretty rough preparation for this fight. And if you see how great they fought, actually, they definitely would have got a fight of the night, I think, if Shane Burgos, Josh Emmett didn't happen after that. So a great fight. Definitely a fun one to watch.
Yeah, it was. I thought it was a fun one to watch. I expected it to be a fun one to watch. I think that's a pretty solid win for Belal, who's kind of on the outside looking in on that fringe of that top 15 with, a loss to Jeff Neal, but everybody's losing to Jeff Neal right now. I think he still has, some improvements to make. However, you can always count on him to be in there from pillar to post. Moving on to catch weight. I hate these catch weight fights. I understand that they're making them, but I hate that they're happening. The least amount of significant strikes landed on this card by a single individual outside of this fight was Frank Camacho with 4. Jim Miller and Roosevelt Roberts combined to land 3. However, Jim Miller, once again, getting it done. I picked Roosevelt, but man, I spent a considerable amount of time stuck. I wanted to pick Jim Miller so bad. I thought this could have been too much too soon for the California product and ended up biting the dust on that one. Jim Miller once again with a finish.
Yeah, dude, is slick as fuck,
Yes, sir.
Yeah, man. I made an argument on the Loudmouth MMA breakdown last week that I think Jim Miller deserves to be in the Hall of Fame of the UFC.
Completely. 100%.
Yeah.
How is he in what world is he not a UFC Hall of Famer?
I agree, man. I mean, the dude is, man, he's still at a high level, man. I mean, if you can he has a verbal submission, if you can stop Roosevelt Roberts with an armbar in the first round, that's pretty big, man. Considering Roosevelt Roberts is a big prospect, in my opinion, in the division. And I was really happy for Jim Miller, man, because who doesn't love Jim Miller, right? I mean, the guy's great. He has he had Lyme disease, right?
I think so.
Yeah, and he's fully recovered. He said he feels better than ever, and we see him, man. I mean, he does very well. Crazy. I'm very happy for him. I hope Roosevelt will be back. I think he will be back. He's a great prospect and a solid fighter, so he will definitely be back. He will learn from this one. And but overall, man, Jim Miller, huge props, man.
Do you see where Roosevelt gets himself into trouble a little bit? Any technical deficiencies that you kind of spot? There was kind of a similarity, in my opinion, given obviously the short amount of time he was in there with Jim Miller, that I kind of drew with this fight and his fight with Pichel. I don't know why that is or exactly how that is, because I haven't watched this one back, and obviously it was just over halfway through the round. But I think there's just something there, you know, as far as technical prowess, that's just holding him back a little bit, especially in those close quarter exchanges.
I think at a certain moment, he was on the ground and was trying to ground and pound Jim, and I was like, dude, if he snatches your arm, then you're fucked. You better get on your feet, you know. But and then Jim took that arm, and I know it was over at that moment, because Jim Miller doesn't let an opportunity like that go, you know.
Absolutely. Totally. I agree 100%. And it's kind of staying away from those areas of danger that might serve him well in the future. Staying at 155, I was mildly surprised at how inactive Clay Guida looked on the feet. Bobby Green pretty much dominated for 3 rounds. Were you surprised? I thought the lines were a bit sketchy going into this. Bobby Green more than a 2-to-1 underdog. Especially where Clay Guida is, at least now in his career. And man, those people that cashed that underdog ticket on Bobby Green had to be saying, I told you so, run into that window.
Yeah, I also picked Bobby Green to win this one, man. I think Bobby Green is highly underrated in the UFC because he has his last win was against Eric Koch, I think, some years ago. But his fights against Dorff close, and what was the other one? I don't know. Were very close.
He drew with was it Evan Dunham?
Yeah, I think. Oh, yeah. Was it Evan Dunham? Yeah.
No, Evan Dunham drew with Beneil Dariush.
Yeah, on the same card, Green drew with, was it Venata?
Lando Venata.
Yeah, but those fights were close, man. He lost. Yeah. So, I mean, I think I had 30-27 for Green, that fight. I was actually shocked people had that for Guida, you know. But yeah, what can you say? I think Green looked great. I loved his post-fight interview for ESPN. I don't know if you saw that one.
I did. It was great.
Yeah, I think that was amazing. People, if you don't see, I saw that, look it up. Amazing interview, I think. But yeah, great, a fun fight. Pretty much what we expected, I think. And Green was just a little bit more sharper, a little bit more technical than Guida. Guida just went full forward like he always does, you know, and sometimes it works, but this time Green was picking his shots and did very well. I think a good win for Bobby Green. Puts him right back into not into the top 15, but puts him right back into the winning column. And I hope we see him fight more often, man.
Agreed. Hope he kind of stays off the injury bug. That's what's been plaguing him for a while. One of a kind of a stunner for me, Tecia Torres looking as good as she did against an oncoming Brianna Van Buren. I was all in on BVB coming into this one, and I thought she was getting ready to kind of crash the party in the top 15. Tecia Torres badly needed a win here, coming off of 4 losses in a row, and it kind of says a lot to be coming off of 4 straight losses and still be ranked number 11 in the world in your division. But we all know how good strawweight is. Tecia Torres really put a stamp on that one with a win this weekend.
Yeah, I definitely agree, man. I think Tecia Torres looked great. I mean, her kicks were on point, her striking was on point, and I expected Brianna to win, honestly. So I was kind of surprised. I picked horrible on this card, 4-8, you know. So, but yeah, I mean, it was very good. And I also think it kind of looks. 4 losses in a row look bad, but if you saw against who she lost,
yeah,
you can lose those fights, man. I mean,
Andrade, Joanna, Weili Zhang, and someone else. Like without looking off the top of my head, but now I'm going to fact check myself. That was not in any particular order, too. It was Andrade, Joanna, Weili Zhang, and Marina Rodriguez. Marina Rodriguez was that was in Uruguay.
Yeah, true.
Forgot about that one. But yeah, like I said, to be losing 4 in a row and still be that high in your division kind of says something I think speaks more for the division. I mean, geez, I love that division. I know you do too. It's one of my favorite in the sport.
It's the best women's division
of all time. Of any construction at any point, strawweight right now is the best female division of all time. I don't think it's even close.
I think maybe about featherweight in the UFC, you know.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Are they even have their rankings?
Put some respect on PFL's lightweight division's name, Marcel. Put some respect on the PFL female lightweight division.
Yeah.
Middleweight was kind of a winner go home exchange between Marc-Andre Barriault and Oscar Pihota. This one was interesting to me because both guys came into the UFC on kind of a hype train. Barriault was the 2-division middleweight and light heavyweight champion for TKO. For those that may not know, that is one of the more prominent regional divisions in Canada where George St. Pierre and many others came out of. Marc-Andre Barriault did get the win. Obviously now, as he said in his post-fight interview, he's going to be looking for a new contract. Whether the UFC re-ups that deal is remaining to be seen. I'm not sure one way or the other, nor do I have a lean on which way they'll go, given how he was 1-3 in his 4 fights. But regardless, whether he does fight in the UFC next or elsewhere, he's going to be coming off a stoppage win in the 2nd round. And unfortunately for Pihota, he's probably going to get his walking papers.
Yeah, I think so too, man. I mean, did you saw Dana White with if you don't know, now you know, that he highlighted that fight? I was like, so many great fights on that card, and you highlight this fight. Kind of weird. But yeah, before Marc-Andre Barriault finally got that win, like how do you say that? 4 times a charm. Normally it's 3 times. You know?
4 times a charm.
Yeah, so I'm happy for him, man. I think he's not a bad fighter at all, but you know, sometimes it just doesn't work, and now we made it work. Pihota looked like a good fighter, man. First 2 solid wins in the UFC, but then losing 4 straight, 4 finishes, where 3 in the 1st round, this one in the 2nd. He's pretty much gone, man. I don't like to say that the fighter should be gone, but he's gone. He's pretty much gone.
Yeah. I mean, and it's more so not us stating our opinion that he should be gone. It's just us going off of like reference of fact in the past of what happens when fighters do lose 4 in a row. And most of the time, I know we were just talking about Tecia Torres. I think that's a little bit of a different case. But regardless, Oliver says, were you surprised that Bobby Green did not have more success in the wrestling? No, I wasn't. Were you?
No, not at all, honestly.
I thought that was one of the only areas Clay Guida was going to be able to neutralize Bobby Green.
Yeah, I agree with you. No, I also wasn't surprised, man.
Jillian Robertson, though, moves to 5-2 in the UFC. Very quietly, probably going to have a number next to her name today. I didn't see. Does she? Is she now in the top 15?
I don't think she is.
That's a little bit suspect. Well, then someone would have had to crack in the top 15 then if Casey – Casey was
off since yesterday.
So she was off going into the fight.
Last week, yeah.
Gotcha. Okay. So she was 15 for a second and then fell. Okay, that makes sense. Well, Jillian Robertson nonetheless did perform very well, scoring 3 takedowns en route to a submission very late in the 3rd, kind of dominated on the ground. Her 2 losses at this point to Bueno Silva and Barber, kind of 2, you know, I'm not sure what people think of Bueno Silva at this point, given that she has been inactive. I know what people think about Macy Barber, what with or without the Modafferi loss, but what do you kind of see as the ceiling for Jillian Robertson going forward? Like I said, 5-2 in the UFC, not too bad.
Yeah, man, she did great, man. What can you say about her last Saturday? I mean, she pretty much dominated Casey on the ground. It was like, and I kind of was surprised, man. I picked Casey to win that fight. So to see it like that, what can I say, man? I mean, she looked great. 1st round solid, 2nd round solid, 3rd. She got pretty much that real naked choke, and from out of nowhere, man. I was watching it. And I wanted to tweet like a great win for Robertson, solid UD. And then out of nowhere, I see her having the choke. And I was like, whoa, don't tweet. Great submission.
Yeah.
So, very, very good. And I think Robertson looked good so far in her UFC career. Like you said, she only lost to Mayra Bueno Silva. In a fight she was winning before she was losing. Honestly, before she got stopped, and against Macy Barber, which was a pretty dominant win for Barber, pretty quick one in the 1st round actually. Yeah. So I think her ceiling is getting higher and higher, and I see her entering the top 15 soon. She was actually already in the top 15 like a few months ago, but she dropped out.
After the loss to Barber, I think maybe, but my memory might be foggy. Regardless, back to 155 pounds we go real quick. Our friend Oliver in the comment section says, would you like to see Bobby Green fight James Vick? I did see, so I saw James Vick. I saw that. Did you see that James Vick tweet? The James Vick tweet where he comes out and talks about how Bobby Green ducked him while he was kind of on a roll. Here, I'm going to try to see if I can get this up.
Yeah,
okay, here we go.
I saw the tweets.
Here we go. Quote from James Vick. I remember when I was winning fights, Bobby Green was ranked significantly below me and on a losing streak, kept calling me out like I was scared of him. Of course, then the fight didn't make sense, but I bet now that I'm on a losing streak, his ass wouldn't dare fight me.
Green replied to that.
Did he?
I think he said, yeah, let's make it happen. I'm not sure. I thought I saw that. I might be wrong.
Let's see. I don't know. I'm not going to spend all day here looking for tweets. However, I don't see anything right here. Maybe he did, but
maybe I'm off.
Maybe he did. Maybe he didn't. But regardless, he's talking to. He also said, "Give me Al Iaquinta next." That was back in May, though. Would love to put an end to all this talk. Well, that fight doesn't make any sense. But regardless. Another comment, he shouldn't go back to lightweight. James Vick, I presumably believe. Yeah, well, I mean, James Vick needs to win a fight. That's all I have to say about the subject.
It's pretty much what they let James Vick go to welterweight and they give him fucking Nico Price.
Like what? I know. I swear. And like that's gonna help anything. That dude could KO you on his head. That dude could KO you from anywhere.
Yeah.
He could do it from anywhere. I mean, yeah. Like I remember seeing that fight. Like, are you sure? Are you sure? Regardless, 155 pounds. Justin the Guitar Hero James, 41 seconds in, going home, I believe, with a $50,000 bonus in his UFC debut. Doesn't get much better than that.
100%, man. I mean, super short notice. What can you say? That's my go-to sentence. What can you say?
Yeah.
I mean, I hear it myself now, but it was a great. I definitely think he deserved the bonus. I even said it after after the event. I called all the bonuses right. I don't think it was that difficult to say who won the bonus. You know,
so hard to do that though. Whenever some of these bonuses get divvied out, sometimes, and you're just like, what? You know,
I agreed. The last two events, I agreed. So
nailed them. Nice.
Yeah, it doesn't mean. I mean, now I didn't call him before the event, but I agreed after the event. Let's put it that way. Yeah, I called the fight of the night, but I think everybody did.
Yeah.
So yeah, James, what can you say? Extreme Couture guy, I think.
Yep.
Amazing performance, man. That's how you want to showcase your first fight in the UFC, your debut, and let's see how they match him up with would they match him up next time, because that was a big performance in my opinion against a very good guy.
Yeah, very tough guy too, a guy that's been in some wars. And I mean, you go back and watch him against Jeff Neal, you'd be amazed at how he took that barrage for as long as he did. For James to come in, maybe the weight cut, you always hate being that guy that says, oh, maybe it was the weight cut, but obviously Camacho coming in 2 pounds heavy would put that thought maybe in a few people's minds. Lauren Murphy out edging Roxanne Modafferi on the scorecards. You know, this division is a little bit thin at this point, but you'd have to imagine Lauren Murphy's going to get a step up in her next fight.
Should be, man. I think it would be perfect to see her fight Cynthia Calvillo or Caitlin Chookagian. One of those two girls. Made sense. She looked good, man. And she even knocked Roxanne Modafferi out for 1 second standing, because I saw Modafferi reacting to somebody on Twitter. He's like, what are you doing there? And she was like, I was knocked out for 1 second, but I came back. Roxy's always so nice and always so honest, man. I loved it.
Yeah, always is. She gave a great interview with our friend, Mr. Mike Heck, where he asked her all the things that she thought were going to come forth in this fight, and she just replied apropos with violence and that big smile that she does. Okay, we probably should have talked about this before, but now that we're at the end of the program, this was kind of a topic that really took over a realm of its own. Max Roscoff, despite being in the losing end of the spectrum and having relative success in the first round, 9 times over asked his corner to get him the hell out of there. And, you know, I have mixed feelings about this. I understand both sides. And I also can't give, you know, the most informed opinion of all time, being that I have never strapped on 4-ounce gloves and gotten inside of a cage, locked it with another human being myself. Therefore, I will not put myself on any type of ground to make an informed statement. However, I will say that I do understand both sides and do understand where both areas of, you know, said grievance are coming from. Your opinion on the whole situation would be what?
Yeah, it's difficult, man. I mean, when I saw it, I gave props to the ref. What's that? Mark Smith, right?
Yes.
I normally never give props to Mark Smith because I think he has some horrible calls sometimes, but he did great this time, in my opinion. Yeah, I mean, Robert Drysdale, also the head coach of Max Roscoff, he went to ESPN with Ariel, you know, and he pretty much explained what happened and how we saw it, and I get that, man. I mean, I agree with him what he said there. I don't agree with what people saying like you quit, or like fans who going to Max Roscoff's
you get in the cage, buddy. You hop in there.
He deleted his Twitter, Max Roscoff. You know, I don't know if you saw that, but he deleted his Twitter.
Really?
Yeah. His Instagram is still on, but you have to see some responses on there. That's just horrible, you know. I would love to call those people out, by the way, on Twitter. But I mean, it's a choice. It's a split decision choice, or a split second choice, I should say. Who are we to judge? You know, I mean,
he wasn't ready, man. Like, I mean, that's the bottom line. He wasn't ready. You look at his row of competition going into it. I don't think a single one of them had a winning record. I could be mistaken. There could be one fighter that did, but I don't. I'm going to fact check myself now. I don't think anybody did.
The only thing that really kind of annoyed me is that that 2 of the 3 judges gave Hubbard the first round, and I was like, that was Roscoff's round, in my opinion. I thought it was 1-1 going into the third. That's just my opinion.
Me too. I agree with you.
Yeah, 2 judges gave that first round to Hubbard. Ariel, by the way, says 3 judges. That's not 2. It's 2 judges. But I mean, it's so hard to say anything about it, man. I mean, I think Drysdale really meant well for his fighter. You know, I think that got completely out of hand by some people, like he should leave camp, blah, 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 and that kind of stuff. I think it really meant well for Roscoff, right? Because he also said on the Ariel Helwani ESPN show, he's like, Roscoff already regrets his decision. I think he made the right call at that moment because, in my opinion, he didn't saw it anymore. He was completely out of it. If he went to the third round, I think Hubbard knocked him out. Honestly, I really think it was for me like the not even the Anthony Smith one, but maybe comparable to Mike Davis against Thomas Gifford, you know? Yeah. And I really like Thomas Gifford. He's a great guy, really, really cool on social media as well. But, man, the corner should have saved him there, man. And I was hoping back in that fight when he fought Mike Davis, please don't knock him out in the last 20 seconds. Don't knock him out. And he knocked him out 11 seconds before end of the fight. And I was like, damn. That was so sad to see. And
yeah,
I mean, Roscoff is only 5-0, or now he's 5-1, or 6-0, 6-1. We shouldn't judge on that, man. The UFC also goes way too quick with signing fighters with a 4-0, 5-0 record. You know, there are guys outside of the UFC, Timur Valiev, who is 22-2. You have a guy like Alexander Shabliy, who is 18-1. You know, you have guys, for example, Erin Blanchfield. She's also great, you know. Yes. But they took Crazy to Cortez. I still think Erin Blanchfield won that fight, but who am I? But now you have also the guy. What's his name? Kusan is it Ashkabov or what's his name? I forgot his name. The guy from Luxembourg and Russia. He's on the.
It's not coming to me.
Yeah, he's a twin. He's training at American Top Team right now. He's 22-0, but they let him do the Contender Series.
I'm with you. My hands are up. Like, what? I'm with you. But I also just want to correct myself too, really quickly. There was one fighter in Roskov's history where it is 7-1. Omar Hussein, he beat my rear naked choke back in 2019. Yeah, in Final Fight Championship, yeah. But you know, he also beat Zach Zane, who I believe is the guy. Was he the Bellator or PFL or both? Bellator. Yeah, Bellator. Or at least he beat Nainoa Dung in Bellator in his last fights. Was supposed to fight Nick Newell in March. But regardless, there's I think when it comes down to signing a guy, and like you said, there were plenty of deserving parties that could have been in there and more ready for the fight, obviously. And I hate to give like the excuse card here because this is the only card that Dana's really been playing over the past few weeks. What wordature am I looking to exert here? The aspect of difficulty that comes with bringing in some of these guys, especially to Vegas, and why the implementation of Fight Island is what it is for the international pool of talent, does create challenges. And I mean, I'm not saying anything anybody doesn't know, but to get a guy on such short notice, and it looked like they had an easy time doing it with Justin James, same weight class. You could have even put Roscoff in there against Camacho, or James in there against Hubbard, and nobody would have batted an eye because it's almost the same situation. You get guys coming in on days' notice. You get guys coming in that might not even be fighting in their natural weight class. How many times have we seen that during this pandemic? You saw Erwin Rivera come in. He didn't fight at his natural weight class. I can't wait to see him fight in his natural weight class. But at the end of the day, I don't think that Roscoff should be poo-pooed, for lack of a better term, of getting in there and realizing that he wasn't up for the task.
Yeah, and by the way, I saw some former UFC fighters were like, yeah, we got cut and we never quit, and I kind of see where that's coming. But then I see Dan Hooker's tweet about Max Roscoff, and he deleted it right now because he got a lot of heat for it. I was like, dude, what the fuck, dude? I don't know.
Right.
I don't know. Did you saw that tweet?
I did not.
Let me check, because that will definitely something.
What did he say?
Something like marshmallow something. Let me check.
Marshmallow. That must be like
it was
a down under thing.
Kind of a dick thing to say. Let me check what he said.
Yeah. Down under.
How do you get into the UFC without realizing you're made of marshmallows?
That's all he said.
That's what he said, yeah. But really just after that happened, but he took it down from Twitter.
Yeah, I mean, like we both kind of touched on, these guys get signed just kind of out of a court of desperation, in a sense, just to save a fight on the card. The UFC and any other promotion for that matter, unless you're trying to prop a prospect up, as we see all the time, whether it be in boxing or even Bellator, you're going to have internal difficulty given the matchup you've been presided with. In English, the UFC is going to do no favors for you when booking short notice fights. That's not a mystery. Like that's not something that is breaking news. And so with that being said, I think some of these corners need to hold themselves accountable for having, kind of self-assurance that they are ready for these types of situations. And Drysdale is very widely renowned and very highly respected, but I think it is potential that it is a real topic of conversation that he potentially messed up this weekend. I think that's the bottom line.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to say, man, because the first round was very competitive, in my opinion. So, listen, if Max stopped him in the first round, nobody would have said anything. That's the opposite thing of it. So it's hard to say, man. It's just unfortunate. I hope Roscoff, like Lucas Terry said here, gets maybe a developmental deal and they let him go back to the regionals. That would be perfect. Maybe, like pretty much. Why not? I also think they should have done that with Impact Kasanganai when he fought at the Contender Series, when they didn't want to give him a contract. They definitely should have gave him a developmental deal. But I mean, these guys are young, man. You can have so much benefit from them in the future. So give him another chance.
What I was going to say too about Drysdale is Drysdale was really tooting this guy's horn and was really putting him out there as, you know, saying things, potential future champion and things like that. And this guy's wrestling chops are what they are, and his ability on the ground is documented at this point, given any type of film that there is on Ropskov on the regional scene. And whether we see the end of him or not, I have a feeling that, you know, given whenever he's ready, they're going to give him another crack. I mean, you would have to imagine, or at least given the knowledge that we have, most of these deals, while not knowing exactly what the concrete information is on all of them, most of these deals are 4-fight deals.
Yeah, but
right?
Yeah, I know. But
you can be cut at any time. You can be cut at any time.
But the thing is with Ropskov, man, a lot of these some of these comeback fans, they're gonna keep bringing this up. He needs to win something now, you know, a fight of the night, a performance of the night, or maybe even a championship before they let this go. And that's just stupid, man. I mean,
it is.
Doesn't make sense to me. And he's a highly touted prospect, man. I even think that some people call him a uber prospect, you know. And those are.
What does that mean, bro? What does that mean to be an uber prospect?
Yeah, that means
I hate that tagline.
The highest of prospect outside the UFC. But
is he Aaron Pico?
Yeah.
No, I don't think he's Aaron Pico. But Aaron Pico, you know, in all respect, has had difficulty. I still think Aaron Pico has a bright future, but like
the problem with Aaron Pico, they pushed him way too early,
way too fast,
you know. And he's a good fighter as well, but
yeah,
way too fast.
Yeah,
but it's like the opposite what they do with MVP. I know you like MVP, but it's like the opposite.
Yeah, totally. I think an uber prospect, at least in my opinion, over in KSW, that man Saladin Parnas. Ooh, he's a problem. Oh, yeah. He's a problem. But that's the closest thing I'll go to delivering an uber prospect tagline. Regardless, my man Marcel, we are finished here. Thank you very much for coming on the program today. I know I appreciate you. You're always very forward in helping me out, my man. Go ahead and give your little where can people find you? I know obviously if you like MMA, people have already found this man on social media somewhere, but kind of where you do your work, MMA DNA is your baby. And it's been blossoming wonderfully since you and I met.
Thanks, man. Appreciate it. Yeah. MMADNA.nl, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and just the website. And my personal Big Marcel 24 on Twitter and Instagram. Instagram, use it only for UFC fight announcements, and Twitter, pretty much everything else. And
Guy stays killing it on the UFC fight announcements. My notification bar stays popping. With the fight tags, and my man Lucas Terry in the comment. I know. I think he said something about bias earlier on.
Yeah, to me, but
we know.
I wasn't pointing to you, man. It was many people call me out on that, man. So it's not how do you say that? Pointed to you, especially.
Yeah.
So, all good, man.
Well, hey, man, I'm going to let you go. I know you got the big breakdown on Loudmouth later with Big Max Friedman. Thanks again for coming on. We'll have this up on YouTube, iTunes, Spotify here later today, obviously after the live rendition closes. And if you like this content, go ahead, hit subscribe, give it a thumbs up, whatever may have you. And we'll be back in a couple of days for my preview of Poirier and Hooker. With my man AJ Shulo. He's done a fantastic job coming on and helping me break down these cards every week. We'll be back in a couple of days to do that. Until then, sayonara. We'll see you next time.